Good afternoon, everybody. This is the August 22nd meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. We're starting with our meeting, and then we're going into a workshop. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Bob Scanlon.
Sandy Slavin.
And Jim Gibberti, and Bernie Pigeon will be here. We have minutes from the meeting of August 8th.
I have read the minutes of August 8th, find them to be accurate and complete, and make a motion that we accept the minutes on August 8th.
I believe we've got, or at least on my minutes, I believe we've got an error under the abatements for 468 and 48 Circuit Ave. That should have been 468.50.
I reviewed the minutes, and the amount mentioned was $468 and no cents. So the minutes are correct is what was recorded. The wrong
Okay.
amount was said.
Okay. All right, then.
So I saw that, I saw the note, I reviewed the tape, and the amount in the minutes is what was said.
Okay.
That's why I asked you to put it on the agenda today.
I got you. I do
correct
have
the
it.
dollar
Right.
amount.
Okay. Got it. We've got it that way then. Do I have a second, Bob?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 300. Now we have some abatements, and the first one is going to be the one we were just talking about.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the abatement of account 739504 for $468.50 at 48 Circuit Ave.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have,
I make a motion that we approve the abatement in account 737476 in the amount of $743 and no cents at 348 Main Street.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 300. And the next one,
I can't write fast enough, so bear with me. I make a motion, we approve the abatement for account 737477 in the amount of $743 and no cents for 348 Main Street.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
It's 300. And we have.
I make,
one for
why do we have
Swissbridge.
so many clerical errors? Okay, I make a motion, we approve account 738592 in the amount of $743 and 0 cents at 157 Swiss Beach Road.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
300. Okay, that was quick and easy. The next thing we have is contract. This is for the clarifiers and headworks with Waterline Industries in the amount of $27,749,677 and not to exceed.
May I ask some questions,
Go
sir?
right ahead.
The contract says to modify headwork and to construct an alkaline building?
Alkalinity building, yep.
What, is that different than the headworks and clarifiers?
Yep, it's a additional, one of the add-ons.
And that's part of the 27 million?
That's correct.
Then it says the final clarifier, and it also says a vehicle storage building is part of this contract, is that correct?
Yes.
And then associated modifications to the WPCF. Don't know, nothing specific or whatever comes up.
It depends on how things are going, if we can squeeze in additional items.
Okay. Now, the lump sum was 27,400 something. What's a unit price work for 302,000?
Might be one of the add-on items.
I think it was the number one add-on item.
Yeah.
If I remember right, I don't have that breakout sheet that gave us all those
Okay.
specifics, because
Now,
we had 6 items that were added on, or potential to be added on, depending
Correct.
upon what the total price came in. And I believe we had 1 and 2 were the additions, right?
right,
But the specifics on those 2 individual ones, I don't have.
do you have the contract in your, for approval? No.
Oh,
The-
for-
Yeah.
yes,
Can you tell me the name that's on the top of that we're signing the contract for 27 million for?
should be Waterline Industries, but we will tell you.
Is it?
Waterline Industries Corporation.
Accounting shows it as GHD.
GHD is the one that's
It
managing
says the
it.
vendor name is GHD on this account sheet we got. Why is there difference?
Waterline Industries is the company who's doing the work.
Yes, and I'm looking at a document from the accounting department that says the vendor name is GHD for
Well, that was-
That was
27,749.
corrected yesterday. That was
Don't have that.
in error because,
Oh, okay.
so that was corrected yesterday.
So it now will say
Waterline.
Waterline Industries?
Yeah, so the issue was, yeah, the issue
I
was.
got confused because I had different documents with different names, and it bothered me.
Yep, no, it was corrected.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing else. Then I will make a motion that we approve the contract to Waterline Industries for $27,749,677.00 for the Headworks and Clarifier project.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 300. Okay. Scott, Bob, have that. Next victim. Scott, would you like to take the table, introduce yourself, please? And we'll go from there.
Scott Sobey.
Beautiful.
How you doing, Scott?
Oh, good, thanks.
Scott is about to inform us on why he should become a sewer commissioner. He's brought his therapist with him to validate his decision.
You want me to tell you why I want to be a sewer commissioner? Well, I was approached by the chair of the select board to fill a position, and I informed her that I had no engineering background. I know very little about sewer plant operations, but she encouraged me to look into it further, so I took a tour of the plant, had a nice conversation with the plant director, and then followed up with conversations with Bob and Jim. And through all that, I became more interested in operation of the facility and in governing the sewer system. I guess I'm as much of a contributor to the sewer system as anybody else. And this would be a temporary position until the next elections in May. So I thought, okay, I can sample the job and see how it appeals to me, and if I appeal to you as well.
Beautiful.
I do have a background in microbiology, so even though I don't have an engineering background, I do know a little bit of what's happening out there in the tanks, although I'd like to know more about some of the chemistry and some of the biology that's going on out there.
Well, I'm glad there's somebody that has a better understanding than I do, that's for sure, because mine's zero.
Excuse me for
Any question?
interrupting. I want, on the record, show that Bernie Pigeon arrived at 1:10. Thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
My apologies for being late.
Does anybody have any questions for Scott?
Do you have any trouble making every other Thursday's meetings at 6:30?
The month of October, I'll be out of the state and out of internet access probably for most of that time. So the month of October would be pretty much out for me. But otherwise, I'm retired, so my evenings, my Wednesday and my Thursday evenings are usually free.
Every other Wednesday is free.
Every other Wednesday and every other Thursday, right?
Wow.
Now, just for the record, Scott and I are on the Conservation Commission together.
Wow.
I know, and he showed up here.
Forewarned.
He's a glutton.
Scott, I'm not sure that this matters, but I figured I'd just get it on the record. You're replacing a commissioner, potentially. He was a sewer user. Are you a sewer user as well?
Yes, I'm a
Okay.
contributor to the system.
Right.
The only qualification required, other than being elected, this case
Breathing.
appointed. If I may, Madam Chair, Scott, between our director and ourselves, we manage a facility that's valued upwards around $200 to $250 million. And there's no redundancy. We have a responsibility to 6,700 plus users, not to mention the town backs all our borrowing that we do. So, and we're elected versus appointed. So it puts us in a little different position in our responsibility level to the community. We had a moratorium, went for 2+ years, and the building department, as well as Board of Health and the like, advised us we had shut down any expansion within the community. So we do have a great deal of responsibility, even though it's all underground for the most part. Our responsibility is to the community, perhaps greater than any other department, with the exception of perhaps education. I read your paper you passed down to us, and I find, though, that even though we have all that responsibility, I was more interested in who is Scott, neighbor, friend, fellow member of Wareham, et cetera, et cetera. So who are you on a more personal level than a more academic and work level? Can you,
It's easier for me to talk about myself in an academic sense. But I've always been interested in service. I have been director of a camp in Arizona, a 20-acre camp up there. I was on the board for 12 years and chair for 9 years. In that time, we brought that camp into compliance with federal water regulations, state regulations, and even with the county. They had built a bunch of buildings that none of them were permitted. So I worked with the county government to bring all of those buildings into compliance. I did that by building a board that would that had complementary skills that would help all of that happen. So I've always been involved in some kind of service, public service. But I think moving to Wareham in January, we sold our house in Phoenix in December, and have moved here now full-time. I've always wanted to be more involved in local government, and this is my opportunity to do that. I live in a community, kind of a closed community, that's has had potential for years to reach out into the broader Wareham community and has not done so very well. And I feel like that's one thing I can do to help that community understand the broader town that we live in, and maybe vice versa. I'm not sure what else I can tell you. I'm a straight shooter. I think Sandy will tell you if I feel something, I will tell you. There's no artifice here. I'm an open book. Wouldn't you say, Sandy? That's,
Well, certainly. He does not hold back.
no, I do not.
Interesting, because we are different than any other committee. There's some 38 committees in our community, and most of them are all volunteer, with the exception of this one and the selectmen. We're elected on a town-wide ballot. So that gives us a little different position within the community of committees. And our function in appropriating, we also levy fines, we have that ability. So we're a little different in that context. And even amongst ourselves, we're all elected. We're not appointed, so we're all even on this board as far as level. And you're assuming that mantle from the person who used to be here. And, excuse me. So I think we have a little different responsibility than the other communities, or committees, excuse me. And it's difficult to exercise that because what it takes, from my point of view, having been in business all my life, a true business attitude, and not necessarily that we follow the lead of our fellow people, but as you point out, and as Sandy has verified, thank you, Sandy, that you're an outspoken individual. And I find that it's very comfortable to know that, yes, there's potential opposition that stimulates conversation, stimulates the decision-making process more in the interest of the community than in an attitude or a choice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I also say that I know I'm at the very bottom of the learning curve. And I've learned a lot already from conversations with Scott and some others, but I know that there's, I even had to ask what EDU stands for. You know, I thought that was a subscript of an email for someone in university. So I know there's a long way for me to go to figure out what this group is responsible for and how you go about doing your business. But I'm happy to learn those things.
Excellent. Thank you.
Did you get your sewer bill today?
Haven't been to the post office yet.
It's there. So,
Are
yes.
we in arrears?
Because it does say equivalent dwelling unit. It took me a while to realize what EDU also stood for. So, yes, so it came out with a nice little blue summary sheet as to what's happening, and do you write that, Scott?
I do not.
I wonder who does. Do you, Jimmy? The handout that goes with our bill?
No, ma'am.
Well, do you have any questions for us? Would you like to be introduced to us? I'm Sandy Slavin.
Nice to meet you, Sandy.
I'm Bernie Pigeon.
Nice to meet
Bob
you.
Scanlon, you know me, yeah.
I'm the guy with the short straw, Ginger Birdie.
Do you
Ooh,
have
you
any
made me
questions
lose
for
count.
us?
I do. So I've noticed in the website there's some information about the commission and about the plant. There's a table in there that has 4 levels of envisioned improvements to the plant, going up to level 4, which is, can't remember how many million gallons per day as a future thing. And that's the only thing I could see as a strategic plan in the website. And I was wondering if there is a strategic plan in process. I know that there's not much redundancy out at the plant. That's, I think, a big vulnerability. You know, the rags, separating the rags out from the 3 Ps. And I'm wondering how this commission is viewing its strategic future, or the strategic future of the plant.
I might suggest the CWMP, which was done in, is 20 years old, now being revamped.
English?
If you just say
CWMP.
Comprehensive Wastewater Management
Thank you.
Program.
Okay.
There are a lot of
I had to get used to
acronyms in this.
acronyms also.
You remember I'm at the bottom of the learning curve. So.
That is some 20 years old, and that was the original directive we got from town meeting for, we sewered 12 sections of the community. it was in that, it was a mandated thing to do from town meeting. They're currently preparing one that'll give us an update, heavy on the nitrogen concerns, et cetera. There's a draft copy, I believe, on our website, I'm not sure. There's some draft copies. In fact, there's a copy of the sustainability. That might be of interest, because that was done about 2 or 3 years ago. Everything's very dated, but it applies, not much has changed in the interim. That might give you a insight initially, because it's, there's another half of that report that may not be of interest, but the first half is the sustainability, and it's on our website. I made sure it's downloaded.
What were the letters that you,
Beg your pardon?
CWMP.
CWMP,
okay.
and that's some 450 pages, but as I say, it's 20 years old. The new one, I believe there may be a draft copy, and if there isn't, I have some presentations, PowerPoints they've done to update us as to their draft as they progress towards the final, which I believe is due in December, is supposedly due in December.
I did look through the PowerPoint presentation too, showing the limitations of the plant and some ideas for its,
Yeah, and I mentioned initially, we have no redundancy, but that's not uncommon in your sewer, the amount of cost, such as we're now replacing just 2 sections of it, and it costs us some 36 million, or we have an appropriation for the 36 with the headwaters and clarifiers. Everything is very expensive, and Scott, fortunately, has some creative ideas of how to go forward too, and we're very interested in that. We spend money out of the enterprise fund, and we collect it out of bills backdated. But there's a lot of paperwork on it. Everything comes in the hundreds of pages, and we have several. If you have a question, either Scott through Jimmy or just direct to any one of us. I have a propensity for reading this crap, and I call it crap, and I don't mean to insult it. It just accumulates into that level. Many of these reports are dated back in 2018, 2015, et cetera. It doesn't mean they're not applicable, but they just take a quick review. Sometimes you find issues of interest in them. Gives you a lot of background. And some of it's, great reading if you have a problem falling asleep.
Anything? Anybody else?
As you go through our websites, either the Board of Sewer Commissioners or Department Sewer, please, we'd love to have suggestions. I went looking for the EDU rate. I could not find it anywhere under the Sewer Department webpage. Only on the Sewer Commissioner's page as a header was it mentioned. And I think there could be a major advantage if we were to have fresh eyes on that webpage to see how we can better improve the information available to our users.
okay.
As you're going to be seeing it for the first time, you're going to say, this makes no sense, or why isn't there anything more current than this? Or, yeah, there was a major study done, was about 10 years ago, giving us a capital plan for the next 25 years.
How are we doing on the plan?
We have,
Now, everything costs so much
we have
money.
the plan.
Yes, we have the plan.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I had for you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Scott. I think, unless somebody's got something else, I think we're all set.
And we'll be seeing
We
you
will
via
see you-
Zoom next Tuesday.
Tuesday night on Zoom.
27th, is that right?
Affirmative.
Okay.
And if you're going to be around, I think I have a copy of the CWMP draft in my car. No, I've got
Executive summary?
basically, more so.
Yes.
That makes more sense to look at now,
I think it's 480 pages.
not the
I
one
had
I've got.
Anita print it out for me.
Not the one I've got.
You have more pages?
Less. I don't
Yes.
believe in more.
Unless you fall.
Well, I have several PowerPoints on the same issue.
Okay.
We shouldn't inundate you with paperwork. I mean, we could be intimidating.
Okay, we're moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Director Scott, I have to segregate here.
We're going to say Scott K,
Yes.
opposed to Scott S.
I think we agreed at our meeting that I would be Scott number 1, and he would be Scott number 2.
No numbers.
How fitting.
Touche.
Strong finish.
He might be a candidate for running the gift shop.
That's right.
That indicates the importance of sludge.
Sorry,
Scott.
waiting for me. Okay, yes, again, the wastewater plant continues to improve on itself best we can. I did get a tally of our second month of sewage disposal at the plant, and we've been able to generate about $30,000 a month so far in fees for septage.
Oh, great.
So that's been working pretty well. We did last week, receive the 2 blowers that we had been searching for. So they are in place, waiting for the final piece of installation, and then we will be getting rid of the rental blower. So we will not be paying rent in
Very
September.
nice.
Outstanding.
We moved a significant amount. The team down at the plants moved a ton of the wood chips that were there, so we can put the building in place. That's part of the upgrades for a lot less cost. So we're hoping we can squeeze in a few more projects within this larger project. And that is all.
If I may, Scott, with the added monies, because we're halfway through the fiscal year, so if you're able to replace those blowers and turn in the rental that we currently have, could you apply that monies that you're saving elsewhere?
I handed over, I think, do you have the sheet, Bernie? I was passing around a sheet for the belt filter press, and I hope to apply that money towards that to install it and then start using it, and hopefully even save money beyond that on what we had budgeted for sludge disposal.
Then you may end up having to transfer funds from one
Sandy has
budget
my
account
copy.
to another. Yep.
Right.
Have you been able to implement our new EDU rate for homes with a over third bedroom? Nothing happened?
I have not seen a new dwelling come in over 3 bedrooms yet.
Or a addition of a 4th bedroom to an existing
Correct.
home?
Has the,
Hasn't the attorney approved it for us so we can implement it? Because on July 11th, that was up for a final discussion with Mr. Bowen. Has anything happened?
Nothing formal, but I believe he gave it the okay. He's on vacation this week, and I'll follow up with him next week, and
So without that formal approval, can we implement?
I don't know.
We are
but
we're expected to be able to raise rates. This is raising rates.
No, this is raising EDU.
This is raising rates. That's an increase in the rate.
yeah, it's a rate. We're implementing another level of rating. And it has to be through John Foster because he runs the contract for our billing.
That's separate and distinct from what she's asking.
Yes, I know. but
Talking
the
about something
continuation
else.
of the whole process includes that. We might as well get it done early versus later. Because I don't have a problem with, I don't speculate or cannot speculate that the attorney would say no, because that's our chartered responsibility.
Right, I mean, that's the way I see it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I'm thinking the administrative end of it also.
I'm not...
It
Okay,
makes, I think, excuse me, we have
Yeah.
45 different EDU categories.
Was there, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? How'd we do in the 5 inches of rain last week? I mean, it was just never stopped.
Well, I can tell you we did take in some additional flow, but somewhere around 100,000 gallons, but nothing to write home
No
about.
problem with it.
No. The way the plant's operating, the plant never knew it happened, and it took us a few days just to put it through the system without even batting an eye.
Fantastic.
Oh, well done.
That was use of the EQ basins.
They did.
Okay.
We did use at least one of them, not all of them, but one of
So-
them.
Okay, unanticipated items. Anything else? Okay, our next meeting date is, our next meeting is going to be a joint meeting with the Select Board on the 27th, remote at 7 o'clock. And our regular meeting will be September 12th, normal time here, 6:30. Do I?
I make a motion that we adjourn at 1:31.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll be going into our workshop.
Oh,
You call the copy that Sandy has, that's the only one that
Yeah, I think so.
I think I emailed it to both you and Jim yesterday.
Which,
I'll send it to you right now.
Thank you. I watched the video that you sent also. Very heavy on the stainless steel.
okay, I'd like to call the workshop to order. And we'll do a roll call.
Bob Scanlon?
Bernie Pigeon?
Sandy Slavin.
And Jim Gibberti. So we have 4 present. For the workshop, I was looking at the purpose of it today is to see if we can establish a list of or categories for the commercial EDUs. We have a list, you have a copy of that, I believe everybody has, of our current EDUs and the way it's broken out. And it's everything is combined. You also have a copy of the Title V designations that they use. And in some instances, it appears that our EDU structure that we've inherited and that we're working off of has been based off of Title V. I'm not saying that we should necessarily adhere to this, but one of the things that I noticed with at least with the Title V, is they have broken out and categorized commercial items in various categories. We have areas here in town that probably fall into these different ones, and we should probably make it a little bit more structured so we have a better feel of what goes where and why.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the list that you gave us has, I just counted it up, have some 45 different categories. Doctor's office, dentist office, et cetera, which on the one hand seemed a little more complicated. And you referred to the Title V. I've also been looking at this coincidentally myself and looking at running a comparison to the assessor's typical categories that they fall into. And they have 3, which is residential, consumer, and industrial. And trying to look at these 45 categories and breaking them down into those more simplistic areas, having, let's say, 3, and I use the industrial one from my point of view. If we have any industries within industrial facilities within the community, we have a better opportunity, I think, to charge them for their particular contribution. But to you, the general point that you're trying to make is, with the Title V, I agree with the comparison. I think it's going to be an overlying factor for us as we go forward with what we're attempting to do. And I would suggest that, yes, trying to break these down into the categories of Title V would be in our best interest.
Anybody else? Do we have direction we would like to start? I'm not sure. I'm always thinking we should probably just take the headings off of the Title V and work accordingly with hours, or 2 hours. I get the hours to put hours into those categories, i.e. the categories that are proposing as residential. We have established an EDU for residential a couple of meetings ago when we established one EDU residentially is equivalent to up to a 3-bedroom home. So from that standpoint, residential,
Well, could we, Mr. Chairman, as you say, residential, we have our basic, which is one, let's say one EDU, which would be 3 bedrooms.
up to 3 bedrooms.
Up to 3 bedrooms, that's the minimum. Whatever you're building, it's going to initially be one EDU. Then add additional bedroom on either 1.2 or 1.
It was 1.3.
1.3.
Something of that category.
Yep.
So fit into an automatic category that if they apply and it goes through Scott's desk that they're going to add a bedroom, they automatically now category in a 1.3. I don't think we defined that category, have we, Sandy?
Find what category?
The 1.3? Oh, sorry. That if it's a 4-bedroom, it's 1.3 EDUs automatically. We voted that at some time ago.
0.3 for anything over 3 on a new structure. 0.3 for anything adding a 4th or more bedroom. 0.3 for each additional bedroom over 3. I believe that was what we voted on.
Yes.
Yes. Wait a minute, you said initially it's 1, which is up to
3 bedrooms.
So irrespective, up to 3 bedrooms. Now it's 1.2.
No, 1.3.
1.3.
3, excuse me. I apologize.
1.3 for each additional bedroom over 3.
For an additional bedroom over 3.
Each additional bedroom over 3.
Is 1.3. So I can have 5 bedrooms at 1.3.
You want
No,
1.6.
1.6.
0.3 for,
Just getting your language to make sure that anything over 1.3, but each additional bedroom is a point.
0.3. Yes.
Each
So-
additional
Not at
bedroom,
0.3.
each additional bedroom over 3 bedrooms is 0.3. So 4-bedroom house would be 1.3, a 5-bedroom house would be 1.6.
Yes. That's my language. You needed to clarify that it's going to be
Okay,
stepped.
Yes.
that's already, we established that already.
Yeah, so we need to add it to our EDU schedule.
Our existing schedule,
That will be
yes.
our new EDU schedule. But that will be, and that's what I'm trying to get to now. We're not going to
Yeah.
come up with dollars and numbers, but the only one we've established at this point,
Was a single-family
the-
dwelling of 1
correct.
EDU,
yeah,
up to
Up
3
to
bedrooms.
the
So
3.
in the definition, we have to put up to 3 bedrooms.
correct.
New structures or additional bedrooms are will be subject to a 0.3.
Correct. Up to 3 equals 1. Over 3 equals 0.3 per. So basically, up to 3 will equal 1 over 3 will equal a .3 per addition.
And that's for a single-family dwelling,
Affirmative.
because we have a category under duplex house.
We have new.
That's
so
still a
it's what we call
single-family dwelling.
New structure, or what do you want to say, improvements to a structure, or additional? If someone's got 3-bedroom and they're adding a 4th bedroom, it has to be included. I'm trying to think the best way to indicate that type of activity in our schedule. New structure is well-defined, but a modification to a structure,
It would only apply if they're
if they're
going,
adding a 4th
if they're adding a 4th,
or more.
not if they're adding a 3rd.
Well,
See,
we,
but if they got 4 bedrooms now and they want one more, it's only .3, sorry.
Correct. Affirmative.
It's only any additional bedroom.
As of the date that we've established this going forward.
So,
okay, I would suggest in the description of a single-family dwelling, paren, 3 bedrooms, close
Yes.
paren.
up to 3 bedrooms, yes.
Up to, yes.
New structure, .3 for each bedroom. Modification, .3 for each bedroom. Modification's not the word I want. What do I want? Improvement,
Addition over 3 is a .3 increase.
It wouldn't be, you don't have
Because
to
you
term an
wouldn't have-
addition, because it is an addition till it's completed, so it would be added bedroom, each added bedroom.
Negative, only over 3.
Is this something we're going to vote on?
No.
No. Well, I might suggest that we just, Sandy, I'll sit down with you and we'll write it out instead of doing it on the fly here.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
If we have a duplex, okay, we have next
we
one
have
is,
everything else
Duplex,
covered. That's all covered.
how many bedrooms?
That's all covered.
In a 2, okay.
It's all covered under the up to 3.
So if a duplex is built with 4 bedrooms, then it happens to be 2.6.
We have to say that.
Well, excuse me.
No,
I'm building a brand-new duplex with 4 bedrooms.
Is it 4
each
bedrooms?
Side,
duplex?
each side.
Oh, each side, okay.
so it's
Then
1.3
then
per
it's
side.
1.3 per side.
Yes.
Yep.
2.6.
Yep.
You have to make that statement
I
then.
mean, so
But that's,
do we have to have duplexes referred to as a separate EDU?
I wouldn't think so. I-
Are they billed
that would
separately?
They're joined,
They're joined,
have a
but
common
are
wall.
they billed
We have a
separately
common
by the sewer department?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, so then they're separate houses basically that happen to be joined.
yeah, so I
Correct.
don't think we need a duplex as a separate EDU rate.
No.
Because we refer to the others as a single-family dwelling.
And each side of the duplex is a single-family dwelling.
correct,
And they're billed that way.
correct.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
we could
that's-
delete the line duplex house equals 2 EDU.
That's why I would like to get this, what we're working on. Well, I'd say, first of all, let's get the overall categories instead of focusing solely on one and trying to define that one down to the nit at the moment. We need the categories first, and then define the categories.
Okay, the category with 3 I mentioned is more,
So this,
has a lot of descriptions within,
well, that's defining the category.
yeah, okay, residential,
Residential would be, residential is a category.
yes,
Commercial and industrial.
Yep.
2 more.
Well,
because they're clearly defined within the
yeah,
Mass General laws.
right,
various
that's what I'm
places.
looking at. So then we would, commercial,
And industrial,
industrial,
Well,
that's the 3
look at what
primary.
the Title V shows.
institutional,
Yes. Because I don't see industrial as a separate category under the Title V.
that doesn't mean we have to not have it, I'm just putting it down for the moment. And schools is a separate one.
It's under
Institutional.
institutional.
What is?
Mass General laws in the assessor section have descriptions for each of those categories. Within the Mass General laws, that's the only reason I refer to just those three. Does Title V have a description?
Well,
Although here it says, what is this? The DEP has institutional, and then as number 4, and then as number 5, they have schools.
Okay, so schools will
Right.
fall out separately.
Yeah, because your education can consist of dormitories.
Well, are we missing a page? Because we start off with residential number 2, so where's number 1?
You have a point there, Sandy.
Commercial, institutional.
15203 continued.
I think we are missing a page. Or is this set up
do you know, Scott, if we're missing a page on this?
institutional?
I'd have to.
Continued,
This is
yes,
the
I
one
think
that-
we are.
We're missing a page.
This is the one that you gave me.
The top page starts with the number 2 under residential, so I didn't know whether or not there was a number 1 for a category.
2 residential, yeah, we're missing the number 1. We're missing the first page.
Because it's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So one could be just an explanation unless someone wants to call it up on their phone.
I'd have to look up, I don't think you're missing any of the categories, though.
No,
I don't, I
Someone
think, I
I don't
agree.
think so.
Can they, or did they?
No, did they? Okay.
No, I think we are missing something because it starts with residential bed and breakfast. And I would assume they would start with a single family unit in some way.
No, it's down further. Family dwelling, single.
Oh, I
They
see.
seem to be doing
Yeah.
alphabetically. So
Yeah, yeah.
C,
good
the
point.
F is family after C, so
I think you're right.
the better.
It is included, yes.
Yes.
I don't think you're missing any of the categories. And again, those numbers called out for gallons applied to each
Yeah.
type of unit is,
I would suggest,
it's meant to establish what they expect for the maximum amount of water usage for that type
Yeah.
of
yeah.
unit.
I would say for now, those of us who are not anal retentive, we can assume that that's the beginning there.
it's just that the state wrote it out.
Okay, the only reason I'm,
Bob, you have to think of the source.
Yes.
We are putting a category that's not included, and that is industrial.
Scott, what are you looking at?
industrial.
Scott,
I'm
number
gonna
one?
Look it up right now.
Number one.
Yeah,
This is our
yeah, I
Peter,
thought I was number 2.
this is our Peter, we're going to have a Peter Tettelbaum.
So, section 1 is just a statement, says each component of an on-site subsurface sewage disposal system shall be designed to treat sanitary sewage discharge from all buildings to be served by the system using the system sewage flow design flow as set forth in 310 CMR, yada, yada,
Okay.
except as provided in such and such. Actual water meter data shall not be substituted for the design flow criteria for the activities listed unless pursuant to something else. So it's just a statement about what you can do and what you can't.
Here, here.
Yeah, so it's, that's why, yeah.
And
So
Sandy, on page 3, under commercial, it says factory, industrial plant, warehouse, or dry storage space.
Okay, so industrial is included under commercial. so
It is.
We don't need to carry it as a separate category. I just want our,
Okay.
yeah,
No, that's fine, I just,
so commercial and industrial
commercial, industrial is
is
one.
one category.
Commingled.
Residential, institutional, and school, those are the 4 categories.
Commercial, industrial.
So if we say one EDU for a bedroom, and it looks like about 110 gallons per bedroom, so that's 300 gallons per day is virtually an EDU?
Approximately, yeah.
Can I make that link?
330 gallons a day?
300
No, I would not.
Would not.
I would not make that, because if you start linking them too closely, and you ever went to a user-based, gallons-based, you would hurt yourself in the long run. That's why sticking with the EDU schedule is the way to go.
Yeah.
So stick to bedrooms, leave it at that.
So the alternative is setting a
So-
precedent for the measure.
To try to link the Title V gallons to an EDU is difficult.
Yes, however, the categories laid out in Title V leave it it puts it in a reasonable format to determine how to set EDUs.
Okay,
So, Title V was based on the maximum amount of water used from a location so that they could design a soil absorption system that wouldn't overflow.
for the
And-
Title V.
That's correct, and the Title V assumes there's going to be 2 people per bedroom in the house. And as we know, that's typically not the case. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But, so again, the idea was, this is all based on people designing soil absorption systems.
All right. So I have to,
So I think to leave any reference out to number of gallons
Correct.
okay.
would be protecting us in the future.
I would specifically do that now. When you go to split from residential towards commercial, some of the things that you might include towards the commercial from residential are your bed and breakfast, your Airbnbs, that kind of stuff. Because then you could determine that it's really kind of a commercial property at that point if you're renting it out. Otherwise, I would leave it residential, commercial. And then each type of commercial establishment, Title V was good in laying out how they established how many gallons a restaurant would take based on every 12 seats, or I forget, 10 seats, whatever it might be.
12 seats, yeah.
It's based on every seat. Hospitals based on every bed.
Schools are based on students.
Correct. So, again, those are things you can apply EDUs to while still leaving gallons out.
Okay. All right. Which one next? Do you want to go down the
Okay,
residential
so
list?
we're,
under Title
when first of all, we're in agreement that we've got 4 categories: residential, commercial industrial, institutional, and schools.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Now, are we using Title V's category of what's in residential? Or are we going to develop our own?
No, why see what they have and see if we agree
That's what I
with
mean,
it?
it's look
Yeah.
down.
I would say go down that first.
Yeah, we go down, I would go by what they have and then adapt it out to what we have.
Yeah, because this is an example in residential.
The point was just brought up by Scott that bed and breakfast, here it's under residential, under Title V, and it probably should go under commercial as far as we're concerned.
I
I
don't
was
think so.
thinking that, yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Yeah.
Why?
It's a bed and breakfast. To me, it could very well be a bread and breakfast for 2 months of the year and then becomes someone's residential for the rest of the year. It's not, doesn't have to be 24/7. To me, if I've got a bed and breakfast, I don't always rent it out. Some people do during the summer and live in the camp, live in a campsite someplace. Then they go back to their normal home.
So you're trying to say that because it's a bed and breakfast 2 months of the year, you would charge it a different rate than you would the rest of the year?
No,
Well, that's what you're saying,
You said you want
essentially.
to make
that's
it
what I said.
commercial. I
Well,
said, I
that's-
don't believe it's commercial, I think it's residential.
I would suggest that you take the attitude, you're one of the other. As
Exactly.
far as the assessor's office is concerned, I refer to that, but I'm not using as a specific example. As far as they're concerned, they're not changing their billing from a commercial to an industrial. We have the same tax rate, I know, but they're not changing it halfway through. If we were to have, let's say, a split rate as an example, hypothetically, then 6 months of the year, because they're renting it out, assessors is going to be a commercial, and then they have to have some notification that at the end of the 6 months that the owner has made a decision to use it as their residence, and they're going to change their billing system now to a residential. They're not going to do that. You either one or the other.
Yes. It's a clear choice.
Yeah, it has to be, for the purpose of our own billing system. Because other than that, you're making it too complex, and you have to have a clerk there that's making that data entry.
I don't believe it's commercial. Look at the list under commercial.
You're in it for a profit.
That doesn't make it commercial.
My purpose in getting commercial
No, look,
is to make a
commercial,
profit.
an airport, a barber shop, a country club, a doctor's office, a dentist, a factory, a warehouse, a gas station. Those are commercials, and to me, they don't begin to put bed and breakfast into that. Oh, yeah, kennel,
Well, what's your purpose of running a bed and breakfast?
maybe just to cover my taxes.
Then you're making a
But that
profit.
doesn't,
But then you're making a profit.
If you don't mind me interrupting, if you look down at the bottom of the residential list, it includes motels, hotels, boarding houses. So, I mean,
it's where people live,
it's where people are residing,
yes,
Transient.
regardless.
whatever, but
That's the factor, is transient, the transient of nature of your business.
Well, right, so a motel and a hotel and boarding house, those are all commercial in the sense they probably have to have a business license,
And-
but they're all listed under residential as well.
You mentioned it, a bed and breakfast has to have licenses. They have to have certifications from Board of Health, et cetera, so it's all commercial.
But
Okay,
So what he's
See,
saying is it's,
residential is where people are.
okay, wait, I think we're confusing this whole thing way out of whack from what it needs to be.
But we're enjoying it.
We're looking at residential. Residential, to me, indicates it's single-family usage. I don't care if it's a condominium, if it's a duplex,
It's Sandy.
single-family home, it's essentially one family, whether it be one person or 12. Okay? The minute you get into bed and breakfast, now you're selling your space within your property. So you become a commercial enterprise to whatever degree that translates into meaning. It's still a commercial enterprise because you're selling a product.
So if I rent a room in my house, I now a commercial.
You're selling a product. It doesn't necessarily mean your rate has changed,
No,
because that hasn't been established.
Because I
All
rent,
we're establishing here is what is residential. If you're leasing out property, it's residential. I don't care how you define your leasing out, whether you're renting a room, whether you're renting the space, whether you're renting a duplex, whether it's a condominium, it's
residential. So
It's-
why is a
it's-
bed and breakfast not residential?
Because you have government involved.
Oh,
you-
you know, you got government
No, if
involved
I
if you're
have a-
renting a room, too.
If I have a hotel with 200 rooms, I have to have certain permits from the government to operate. If I have a home and I rent one bedroom on the basis of bed and breakfast, I have to have all the same certifications from the government.
And that becomes our determination as to whether or not it's a commercial or residential, as to whether or not they have to have a license? I don't
That
think,
establishes them as a bed and breakfast, so they can rent a room because they have to have permits. And Scott mentioned it, they have all the certifications from Board of Health all the way up.
yeah, I would take the opposite view, though, that this 15203 is something that the state's put together, correct?
correct.
So the state is viewing all of these things under residential as residential, whether they're for profit, whether they're licensed or not. So they're lumping all of those for whatever reasons. I mean, I'm sure they had a debate similar to this
Okay.
one, but they've made an agreement that when people are sleeping there, they're making them residential. If you look under the commercial, or there's no kind of business under commercial where people are staying overnight, unless people fall asleep in the bowling alley or something, but.
But then again, if we use this list, which you're suggesting, then it makes all our conversation moot, because we're just using the list as the reference.
Then
We're
why-
saying a bed and breakfast and a hotel and a single dwelling unit are all in common, using this as this list.
Well, I'm not suggesting anything, I'm just
So
thinking
what-
about why
so-
they had the list this way, so.
What difference does it make if we call it commercial or as residential? We're just looking to see what categories we should be considering for EDU, and here is residential, and that's what they list. I'm not going to try to recreate what the state has done. Let's use what they've done and say, okay, everything under residential is residential.
Okay, using it as a starting block, I would suggest we could go down that list, and using the list we gave Jimmy, using 1 through 4, that which ones, okay, we want bed and breakfast to be in 2, camp, resident mess hall to be in 3, or down a family,
What are you
mobile
talking,
home
1,
park.
2, 3?
4. Jimmy's got a list there that we gave him the numbers.
Residential,
We've got 1, 2,
commercial,
3, and 4.
institutional, and schools.
Yeah, and I'm
Yes.
saying,
That's
suggesting
1, 2,
that.
3, 4.
So what you would think of doing is splitting residential into private residential and then commercial residential. But then,
No,
no, I'm just throwing it out there. And then you have, I mean, it gets crazy. Do Airbnbs have to register and get licensed with the town?
yes.
Yes,
And when you rent
With
a
the Board of
house,
Health?
do you
Yes.
have to license with the town?
Yes, the Board of Health requires it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, it's a mess, and
Because
maybe just keep it the way the state
If
did,
we
like
just-
Scott
the
said.
bottom line, coming back to this whole thing, is what we're concerned about is essentially what's the usage? Single family, we've kind of established the usage is 330 gallons, based on the bedrooms, from 3 bedrooms. A bed and breakfast, a camp, resident mess hall, washrooms, toilets, et cetera. They've broken these out here in all of this listing in order to establish what they consider gallons per day for what Scott has indicated. Go ahead, Scott.
If I could step back, so, again, when they listed everything under residential, and all those categories fall under residential for Title V, that is strictly to help you calculate how much is expected to go into the ground each day.
Right.
So how big to design the field with a maximum, I forget, it's gallons per cubic foot is basically how they decide gallons per square foot is how they decide how big to make the field horizontally. And the perk rate vertically determines how big it is horizontally. Anyway, that's the point of putting them all in the same category, because they determine that they're gonna use the same amount, whether they're actually commercial or residential. People are staying there, so that's how they determined how many gallons a day are coming out of there. Now, I think it's important to point out, as someone that's working, not in the sewer, I'm not in the sewer, but seeing what goes down the toilets. Someone that lives at their residence full-time and/or rents long-term from a property to rent a house, long-term, I don't mean a week or a month, but renting long-term, they take more care in what they're doing. People that are transient, in and out every day, and people that have rented properties for short-term know the pain of seeing a bad renter come in, do whatever they want. They're gonna leave toilets running, they're gonna leave the shower running because they don't pay for it. So a hotel is a little bit different than a house in that you go to a hotel, you're not paying a water bill or a sewer bill, you're just paying rent. So you leave that water on longer, you don't necessarily do that, but you may take a longer than normal shower because you just took a long road trip. You might be doing things differently. And again, what you put down the system could be things that typically you would not put down the system. So I think it's okay to separate, even though they are in the residential Title V category, to put them into the commercial category, because they do have licenses that make them a commercial property. They're in for profit. If you're renting a house, you're in for profit also, but it's a long-term rental. People are staying there for a year, there's a lease signed for X amount of time. But it's typically longer than a week, a month.
But if something's listed as commercial, do we change the EDU rate for it just because it's commercial versus residential?
I think you do. I think that's exactly what we're trying to get at.
Exactly.
Mr. Chair?
So, again, to be clear, if you think about the abuse to our system and the transient nature of people that are coming in and out, they're not gonna care if they threw something down the toilet they shouldn't have and it's gonna back up in a month because it clogged something down the line. They don't care. Whereas someone that lives there full-time does. So there's no reason that it should stay the same for someone that's, and again, this goes back to, I think, looking into the people with the one-bedroom house and they live there and getting the same EDU as someone with a four-bedroom house that's existing. There is a difference in the economy of the scale there. And there's also an economy of scale to be had when you're renting rooms over and over again for a fairly high price. There's no reason that it shouldn't be looked at differently. I'm not saying exorbitantly, but I'm saying if you make it commercial and residential and define residential as, long-term rentals, and people that just own their own homes, that's the way it is.
Bernie?
I think this whole list that we're looking at or using is built around gallons, which we can't mention. My suggestion is to reconsider. I think we're looking at the wrong list. Now, I started looking at the assessor's viewpoint in the categories. They're clearly defined within the Mass General laws, which clarifies which is commercial, which is residential, from their point of view of an assessor. That eliminates this category because this is built around gallons in usage, more so than it is under dwelling, which we're actually billing on. And we're billing on the basis of whether or not it's a resident or commercial or residential, or industrial, which I think in Mass General laws outlines that clearly for us. So it might eliminate some of the discussion that we're getting here. As I said, we have 45 different categories. And we could take those categories, put them into the 3 used in assessors, and I'm only saying assessors as a reference because they have clarified something in Mass General laws. Excuse me. And I think that's a better list to use, a more simplified list that may accomplish our objectives than all this conversation we have, and we're splitting hairs over gallons of what kind of usage, how we define, let's say, a bed and breakfast versus a residence. That's all clarified within that group, because this is a different group now. I'm not saying one is wrong or one is the other. Their point of view or the approach to it is different from each category. The assessor's category and this category here, Title V.
So,
This is gallons and one is just usage.
right, but I think you need to leave the gallons part off the Title V. But if you look
At the
at the
categories?
categories, they are per 12 seats, per locker, per X. I don't think you're gonna be able to break this down to 4 categories and bill just like that. I think you have to leave 2 categories, residential, commercial, and then you'll have to split the hairs on what you determine as residential, renting, hotels, everything else. Obviously, you're gonna have to cut those into residential, or commercial or residential, that's where you make the separation. And then you come up with, on the criteria, what you're gonna charge for EDUs per 12 seats, per hospital bed, per student. That's what you're gonna have to do. You're not gonna be able to break this into 4 categories and bill like that, or even 2. You're gonna have to determine a rate for residential, a rate for commercial, and then a breakdown of each commercial type and how you're going to bill them per EDU.
But we're gonna have to do that breakout per commercial unit or industrial unit or schools on how it's gonna be broken down. I mean, we're gonna, just like we have with residential, we've gone residential is a category, and we defined residential to be up to a 3-bedroom, so that's 1, 2, 3, plus over. I think we need to do the same thing with commercial, but, you know, which items, which particular businesses or units go into commercial versus institutional or schools. And then those, but when, whatever that determination is, you're gonna have to take gas stations, convenience stores, supermarkets, and break them under the commercial, what EDU based on what criteria for that segment.
God, do we,
Excuse
sorry.
me, if I point of information, if I may, Sandy, does anyone have any input as to how this original list was put together? How many EDUs or whatever?
I know, this goes back to 1996. Are there anybody today whose EDU is based on something that's not in our list right now?
Nope.
So we know that the list that was developed in 96 covers everything that we have in town. Maybe we take...
At that time.
At that, well, he says there's nothing new's been added that hasn't been covered. Correct?
Correct. I would say there are some things that we could
That aren't in here.
extract from the lumped-in.
So maybe we go down the master list of EDUs and say whether or not something is still valid. Car wash, per operated stalls. Guess what? We don't have any more stalls in town.
In fact, someone was looking on Facebook for us.
We no longer have,
At the moment. You mean the self-service ones?
yeah, they don't exist anymore.
No.
So
not
we
yet.
should probably go down to the categories that are on our list to see whether or not they're still valid for what we have in town today. Do you want to try going down,
Okay, let's give that a shot, see if anybody's got any.
just to say whether or not it should be, we should consider looking at it. So we're going to remove duplex.
Yeah, maybe we got some new ones, too.
Well, you can remove it or not, it doesn't make any difference, because it says the same thing that we're saying anyway.
Well, then we'd have to put down to the categories a .3 bedroom, you know, that type of thing. So by removing duplex, we don't need it.
I agree. There may be only 5 of them, but at least 5.
So boarding house, rooming house, I don't care about the EDUs, but the category boarding house and rooming house,
Yes,
bed and breakfast,
yes,
restaurants,
yes,
retail, separate facilities, office, mixed use, service stations, gas only, service stations repair, service station combined,
Gee, that could be one category.
doctor's office, dentist office, boat pump-out stations, RV pumping stations, beauty parlor, barber shop. Don't tell me how many men have their hair washed before they get cut, but okay. Laundromat, dry cleaners, country club, hospital and nursing home. That includes the one coming up on Indian Nick. Public restrooms.
We don't have that?
Where do we have public restrooms?
Merchants Way. Don't they have
Do
them
we
in that,
charge the town?
don't they have them in that
It's,
train station building?
it's locked up.
Oh, it is, but that's still, it's public restrooms.
We charge the town?
I have no idea what we do.
So we don't charge.
So it's municipal owned. I know of no public restrooms. Funeral home, industrial. LBS per month?
That's a
What in the world is
continuation,
that?
that's continuation of industrial. That's the second line of
Oh,
industrial.
okay.
Okay.
So churches, schools, don't ask me why a high school, and, oh boy, Everett Educational. We really do have an Everett Educational. Car wash.
We used to have,
Yeah, I mean, this is why we need to go through our list to say whether or not these are still valid. Car wash, we don't have any more coin-operated stalls. Because I think the 2 car washes that have been built are recycling their water.
And we now have
I don't know what I would assume, but I don't know.
2.
three.
So,
The old one,
It's
down on
closed.
Cranberry Highway?
It's
No,
closed.
It's open.
I think it
That's
is open.
That's where your husband can take his car, because it's brushless.
Then that has an operational stall in it. Okay, fraternal organizations, offices, seasonal rate, okay, that's it. So that's our EDU rate. The only thing I didn't notice was, now we say, okay, is there anything that we haven't, that's using EDUs that are not part of this list?
Where does the malt factory fit in?
A couple of them could be combined, even.
Well, we're charging them
That's gonna- where
as a
does the-
restaurant.
where does-
Restaurant. They serve food, they have gatherings.
I understand that. But they're running more than one operation.
Then we consider both part of their business separately.
Are we doing that?
Which place are we talking about now? Did I lose track of something?
Stone Path.
Path.
They have evolved, because when they originally opened, all they were doing was serving alcohol. They've expanded their license continuously.
They're not 24/7, they're not 7 days a week, are they serving?
I don't believe so. Wait a minute, they may.
I mean, I believe Stone Path is being charged EDUs based on the number of tables as a restaurant.
I couldn't help
But
you.
I don't know what they're
I
doing. Then
don't
you've got
know.
the industrial component of
That's a
their
separate-
making, yes.
Exactly. That's the point. I mean,
Where do you want to go with this, Jimmy?
I'm not sure, quite honestly. I mean, there's been so much discussion on EDUs and trying to get them a little bit more equitable. I mean, I don't know.
I might suggest a motion to table, and for the next scheduled
We'll get to that in just a
workshop.
minute.
Beg your
Yeah.
beg your
Okay.
pardon?
In just a second, let me finish here. I'm looking at things like service stations.
That's what I was
We
thinking of.
charge them by the bay.
And
And-
when it was brought up, Guy said because they all got dirty hands. But what you're finding in it's harder to treat the outfall from the service stations because the people repairing have got grease and stuff, but most of the people now wear gloves, so they're not washing their hands constantly. Therefore, to charge one EDU for each bay at Midas, to me, is ridiculous.
Well, Sandy, on the service stations, did they delineate between just gas?
Yeah.
And then gas and repair?
It says
Yes.
gas only, then service station repair, and then a combined.
Okay, so the same could be made for Stone Path, right? It could be restaurant and
Yep.
and/or brewery, whatever you want to call it, distillery,
So for
and then
service,
combined.
sorry, for service station gas only, it's 1 EDU per service island. So you get a gas station that has 3 islands, they're going to get charged 3 EDUs for 3 islands for pumping gas.
And
Service station repair only, 1 EDU per service bay. Midas has 6 bays. They're being charged 6 EDUs.
Yeah.
Then a service station combined is 1 EDU for the first island and a .5 for each bay
Or additional island.
or additional, but I mean,
And like Cumberland.
So I say,
Separately because they have a bay for gas only, and they have a commercial operation, food operation.
what food?
They sell hot dogs.
That's not a restaurant.
No,
That's
it's not, but it's
But it's,
for the health.
that, they're not on here.
But they,
As a
they are selling a.
takeout is not included.
No, but they are, could be considered commercial, of course, they're,
Then what category under commercial do they fall?
again, a splitting of hair.
Well, I certainly don't understand why we are charging Midas 1 EDU for each service bay.
don't look at me. We didn't establish, Sandy,
I-
the purpose of this is to try to come up with designations on where they should be. And then later, we'll come back and try to figure out how much we should be charging in what specific areas, and what's right and what's wrong. Right now, you're getting into the what right, what wrong, before we get them into the category
Okay.
that's
Now-
acceptable.
Stone Path, I have an email going back to '23. He's being charged 11.3 EDUs for Stone Path.
For what? For per table? I
No,
mean,
for the whole, for his business. He's being charged,
is there a breakdown on that?
no, he doesn't, it doesn't have it. He just says, my bill says 11.3 EDUs for Stone Path.
So there's no distinguish between one operation or the other.
I have no,
Billing system.
and it's one of those things, they don't have everybody in there. A party once a month maybe, or once every week for a fundraiser, but here is a man being charged 11.3 EDUs. I don't know how much of it is associated with the business of whatever it is he makes. He uses water in that business. It discharges, or someone flushing a toilet. They serve paper, so they're not doing a dishwasher. I mean, it's that type of inconsistency that,
Yeah,
almost as if we have to look at each business.
You've got a restaurant in the back of that.
hey, serving food, cooking food.
That's right,
But Mink Brothers is a catering,
out of that operation.
yes, but there's nothing in our EDU that says a restaurant. It says in the number of tables.
I understand that.
It's not-
This is the point
Yeah,
of trying to put this together
Yeah.
now. This is the point of trying to determine what we have,
so how do we
what's
start?
what do we have, and what do we need to add? We haven't,
Or adjust?
or adjust,
I mean, so where do
absolutely.
we start?
We're
Jimmy,
not
where do we
worried about, with the list.
What
The
list?
The one that we're trying to put together with the categories,
Okay,
and what goes under each
That's why there's only
category.
two or- There's only
And then
three
determine what,
systems using EDUs in the state. Everyone else.
yes, everything else has gone to usage.
Yeah, we lose money.
But putting into the 3 categories, I don't, or 4 categories, how will that change how we do an EDU? Isn't it just the type of business, the entity that's under the 4 categories that's going to do an
Well-
EDU?
I don't know how it's going to change it.
Yeah.
I'm
When was the last time that, was that from 96 that,
Yep,
That was the original, when it was.
so there was no Stone Path, there were no breweries back in
you got it,
96?
you got it,
So now there are, so now we have to deal with it.
yep.
Yeah, it should have been dealt with before, but it
And Stone
wasn't.
Path is not a brewery.
No,
It's a malt factory.
They make
a malt factory,
Which is.
And then you've got the Lucky Goat.
yeah.
Yep,
What do they
Yeah.
do? So, I mean, we've got businesses that have come into town since this EDU schedule was reaffirmed, if you will, or readjusted, or 96. How much has changed? I don't know. What's the industrial park have to offer for businesses now versus what it did?
should we get a list of all the
I think that.
businesses in the EDUs?
That's where we're going.
Yeah.
Do we need it this second? No. What we
No,
need to
but-
now is to determine what are we agreeing on or not agreeing on, designations of where these things should fall.
What's interesting is that as businesses have come into town since 1996, the EDU allotment has been pulled out of a hat and assigned to them
Exactly,
with no criteria,
exactly.
and it's just been kicked down the road.
And there are some of these businesses who are not even on sewer.
Exactly. That's the point, that's,
Scott, how hard would it be to get a list of users and the EDUs being charged per business?
I think we can get that from the clerk pretty simply.
You want your clerks or?
Is that the-
No,
Is
the
that the
town,
150
whoever
page?
sends the bills out.
Treasury,
Yeah, they'll do it.
treasurer,
Is that the 150
So we would
page?
have that,
that's why.
sorry.
We were, several months ago, when we were doing the initial discussion, this was when I was the chair, I talked with these people, and they'll print out a Excel list, no problem whatsoever.
Because we currently have 9,581 EDUs. 9,581 EDUs,
I'm going to be working on that.
making our revenue.
The EDU schedule that can get printed out, I believe it was 150 pages.
Well, if they can put it on a
It's,
spreadsheet,
that's on a
Yeah, I'm going to
spreadsheet.
work on
I
it.
just want, I don't want to print it out, I want it on a spreadsheet
That-
so I can
That's the spreadsheet.
sort.
It's, and it's listed, what their listing is by address. Doesn't designate whether
That's
it's,
6,790
whether it's,
customers.
does it say how many EDUs each place is being charged?
Should be on the
I
spreadsheet.
don't know, first thing we gotta
I
do
guess
is
that's the
print it
question.
out.
If it's on
It did have
Excel
some,
and
yeah.
it's got columns and it says how many EDUs each place is being charged, we could probably isolate
I can,
residential from commercial
Well,
based on
Bill,
who's getting one EDU.
no,
Yeah,
we couldn't figure,
oh, the billing unit, they'll
sorry,
do a
one at, I
spreadsheet
can't
no
get,
matter what you
I'm
want.
having
quiet,
Very flexible.
stop.
one at a
Okay.
time, please.
You need a gavel.
Yeah, no, I need a,
Does.
how about a
Give you a measure.
sledgehammer? The list that Vicky brought up yesterday, just listed by address. And I'm not positive, but I believe some of them had more than one EDU listed. But it didn't define what it was, strictly the address. So I didn't know if the address was going to be the Midas or,
Who's Mickey?
Vicky,
Vicky.
Oh, Vicky, okay.
Go
I
ahead,
will
Bob.
get the list, I will break it down,
You want the billing
and
list
I
or
will give
Vicky's
you,
list?
I will get Vicky's list, and I will break it down, and I will go cross-reference with the
so-
assessors database and figure out, to the best of our knowledge, what is what.
Okay,
Somebody's got to do it, so let's get it
okay,
done.
so then what I would say,
Vicky, have the customer name?
no, not necessarily, some, yes.
Then I would suggest go through John and get the billing company. They'll give you the customer name because they do the address to send the bill. And the number of EDUs because it's printed on the bill.
So I would
So that
suggest that we
They can
postpone
do an Excel spreadsheet for you.
That'd be nice.
this whole discussion until Bob can put something together to make it more definitive to go from. We still need to do this exercise, though.
We need to know what we have.
And we'll back into it then, instead of trying to go
Yeah.
front side down, we'll go back into it,
Start, yeah.
because we've got items. as
Are you comfortable working in with that Excel spreadsheet and hiding?
Yes, I will get to the bottom of it.
I think we'll get rid of all the ones and see what's left over.
Well, if he gets an Excel spreadsheet, we can manipulate our own, on our own.
So you want to do it on your own and not have Bob do it for us?
I'll do it.
You got a big enough, if he's got a big, I've been downloading 500 or 600 pages
Well-
on things, so my laptop.
No, Bob,
I will do it.
will you take the lead on
Yes,
reviewing the Excel spreadsheet that Vicky had?
Yes.
Vicky has,
whoever has
Victoria?
it. I'll
I
look at all
believe
the
he already
sheets.
said he would.
Yes, I just wanted
Yep.
to make sure.
Yes,
There's been a
Yes,
lot
it's
of
being done.
discussion.
That's fine.
Someone's
We're doing
taking
it.
notes and will give us minutes. I want to make sure that that is the deliverable.
Yep.
Okay.
If you would introduce me to John Foster, and I can talk to the billing
I'll look up my
thing,
notes,
and
yeah.
we'll see what we can do there.
Yeah,
I even have an email from him,
well, we go over there now.
and
I
he's
expect my salary to be increased at least 5 times over for this.
It's gonna go up.
I'm sorry, we lost that in the computer.
Well, 5 times
for some
0 is
reason.
pretty easy, so.
Okay, then the other thing that I had on for the potential increase per EDU for commercial is going to be postponed, put on hold until we redefine what we're doing here.
Oh, so that's why you wanted to define commercial, because you
Yep.
would have an EDU for commercial and an EDU for residential.
Effective, yes.
So that's why everything, that's why
Yes.
you were pushing on a commercial.
No, it's because, get businesses coming into town, what category do they fall into? Is it one that should be charged more or not? Within that, this, you're still going to be looking at going down through the list of the particular ones. I'll use the service station still. Why do they get charged for 4? Well, that's the discussion we're going to have and come up with later, not today.
Okay, but then,
And we've got other areas in there that'll fall into the same type of category, but that's a separate discussion for
no,
later.
we would have to make sure that the software exists, that an
Well,
EDU for one.
we'll have to make, first of all, we'll have to make the determination and then get the software that will do it, if necessary.
Okay,
You know, that's,
a software saying
Motion to
this
table
site, okay, at this rate for commercial and this business is commercial and that's.
you
I'm
could,
just-
yeah, there's stuff out there that'll do it. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure that
There
there
is.
is. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we don't have that information.
No, we don't.
We don't have commercial versus
No.
residential or
So-
industrial.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Yes,
would you like a motion to table this auction until
yes.
Seconded.
Bob's ready?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Sandy, was that an aye?
Yeah,
It was a silent aye.
I'm writing,
What was there?
I'm writing my notes so I can review the minutes.
All right. We didn't get the categories, so we're going to postpone that one and postpone that one. All right, then I guess I'll take a motion for an adjournment.
So moved?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we put the time down for the note taker, please?
For the what?
Person who does our minutes,
2:33.
227?
2:33.
237, 233, you're right.
233 is right.
Thank you.
I'm right on something. I don't believe it. Absolutely.